So, as I was introduced, my name is Ian. I'm in NTU. I spent about 15 years working in industry. I spent now, let's see, 8 or 9 years working in NTU in 2 shifts with a segment in New Zealand in between. So I'm a New Zealander and I'm British by birth. And my background in industry is a little bit different from many of the academics. So I think I've seen quite a few things in different continents I've worked at, the different companies I've been employed by. So maybe my perspective is a little different. Okay, to bear with that. I also like to thank the SPGG and the IET for giving me this opportunity to talk. I'd also like to apologise to the IET because I planned this talk, let's see, 2 months ago, and unfortunately it had to be called off on the day. On the day of the talk itself, somebody very kindly stepped in and told some jokes on my behalf, which was probably a lot better than listening to me. So, I have some funny quotes on here, so you don't have to listen to what I'm saying, you can just read the quotes. You can see that. It's fun and interesting. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk to you for a little while about what I see as the future of technology. I don't mean the future as in 100 years, I mean the future as in the next 5 or 10 years. Okay, some of the things I talk about I'll get wrong, some of them I'll get right, hopefully. In this I'm representing the IET, the Institute of Engineering and Technology, the second largest engineering institute on the planet, more than 150,000 people around the world, and several thousand in Singapore probably. I'll say more about that a little bit later. I will have to say more. People might be. But I'll be very glad to talk about that. Anybody who's interested. Today I'm going to talk about 3 things. I hope you can see that clearly. We're going to gaze into our collective crystal ball. We're going to try and discern some of the issues for the future in these 3 areas. The growing cybersecurity threat, the future of computation and energy and sustainability. I'm also going to talk a little bit about what I see as the future of the engineering profession, something which is quite important to me. How does this work? My crystal ball will be a little bit different from yours, and the angle at which I look into it may be different from the angle that you look into it from. Okay? But of course, I'm the one standing here, so you just have to bear with my angle for a little while. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. So let's look at those. Let's look at those 3 issues down there, starting with the growing cybersecurity threat. What do I mean by this, the growing cybersecurity threat? It's a term which is bandied around, many people use it. But to clarify this in my own mind, I have 4 different categories. Okay, the first category I will pass these into is online attacks that have online consequences. What I mean is that somebody hacks into somebody else's web page to be faced. Second category would be online attacks with offline consequences. That means that somebody hacks into Singapore MRT and stops the train, or worse. The third type of attack is an offline cyber attack with online consequences. That means somebody takes down web systems. Like there's a lady in Georgia earlier this week that dug up a cable and interrupted internet services in that country. That was inadvertent. People can do this on purpose. Final category 4 is offline attacks that have offline consequences. Things like the electromagnetic pulse attacks that take out electronic systems. This is a non-weapon. So what I want to do in the next few minutes is to give you my perspective of where I think this might be going. But first of all, just to be useful, I'll give you some ideas as to how you can protect yourself. Some of them you were listening to. How can you protect yourself from cyber attacks? Well, very simple steps. We all have passwords. Make sure they're different. If you have a number of different computer systems which you use different passwords for each one. That way, if somebody hacks into one, they won't have access to everything you use. I'm sure some of you use the same password for different systems. Make sure your passwords are difficult. Don't use a guessable password. I mean, I have to tell you, I got attempted by this probably a year ago. I had a server in NTU. I set it up. I put an account on that server for two of my friends. One of my friends was called Forrest, and one was called Stephen. And I created the account and I put passwords on there. The first password was Forrest. Second password was Stephen. I sent them an email. I said, hey, I made you accounts. These are the usernames, these are the passwords. Just whatever you do, log in and immediately change the passwords. Guess what? They didn't. A couple of weeks later, I had some emails from a Spanish company saying, why are you trying to hack into our computers? I'm not trying to hack into any Spanish computers. I looked on the computer and there's a word installed on the computer. And I removed this, but not before I dissected it to find out what it did. It's very simple. The worm had a list of computers by their IP addresses, and its job was to try and attack those computers. If it succeeded in accessing one of those computers, it would copy itself onto the new computer, and it would then attempt to attack other computers. How was the attack organized? Well, it was a brute force attack. There was a list of about 20,000 common usernames and 20,000 common passwords. It would try each username with each password until it got through. Okay. And I looked in the list of passwords, I looked in the list of usernames, and Stephen and Forrest were in both, along with most very common dictionary words, and variants like when you use a 1 instead of an L, or a 0 instead of an O. These things people know about. Okay. So potato spelled with a 0 is not secure. So I would say that difficult passwords, has to be something that maybe is not guessable. Try writing something in Chinese, in English, but it sounds right in Chinese. Or even better, Hokkien. Nobody would ever be able to guess that, including yeah. Well, the consequence of you forgetting is not as severe as the consequence of somebody hacking into your system. You have to look at the risk. Actually, you think about the importance of online systems in our lives. They are greatly important. And we all know that the web, the internet, is inherently insecure. Even if you go to a secure web page, you go to your bank, it says it's a secure web page, even that can be hacked. It's just a little bit more difficult to do so. And also, these types of systems, the secure systems, are susceptible to man-in-the-middle attacks. Scenario, you go to a cyber cafe somewhere, and you want to connect to your online banking system, which, by the way, is a very bad idea. But you're careful. So you go to the cyber cafe, you choose the nicest looking computer, and you have a look at the keyboard. It's a normal keyboard. You look where it's plugged into the computer. There's no keyboard key capture devices, which I have one that's just this big. There's no key capture devices. You look at the computer, it looks okay. You're clever, so you check the computer. Are there any other jobs running on the computer? No, there's no other programs running, just the browser. So you go to that website, and it looks like your bank. So you think, I'm going to be even cleverer. So you log in with the wrong password deliberately. Does the bank respond in the correct way? Yes, it does. So then you try your right password, and you log into the bank. What you don't know is you're actually talking to a computer, and that computer is simply relaying all of your connection to another computer. Right? And whatever comes back from the other computer, this man in the middle will forward onto you. Except it's keeping track of everything you say. Okay, third factor authentication attempts to prevent this from happening. In some ways it's successful. So everything's insecure. Your computer's insecure, the network is insecure, GSM is insecure, your handphone's insecure. If you want to do e-banking by handphone, your computer's insecure, especially if you use Windows. It was never designed as a secure operating system. From the very beginning, it was designed to have almost no security. It is the least secure way of doing things. And also it's the most common. So if anyone's going to attack anything, they will attack the most common and the one that's used by the most number of least skilled people in Windows. If you do use it in Windows, if you really have to use it, don't use the Internet Explorer. You can really improve your security by downloading Firefox, Opera or Chrome. If you use something with an additional level of security, it will really pay dividends. Another thing, use a different computer for e-banking than use for downloading applications. What I mean is, your nephew comes and stays with you for a few days and says, can I play some internet games? You say, yes, no problem. The nephew goes to all sorts of sites, downloads internet games on your computer. The next day you connect to your online bank. It's not a good idea. And try and use different computers, isolate the issue. Or, even better, don't let your nephew anywhere near your computer. Use antivirus software. AVG is good. AVG is free and it's quite effective, but of course you can't rely on it. It just, what it does is it reduces the probability of you getting attacked. It is absolutely not a secure guarantee of not being attacked. Never visit dodgy sites. I mean, if the site's got X-rated pictures, you think about it. If somebody has a lack of morals to put up things on the web like that, then they probably have a lack of morals in other ways. I mean, these people are more likely to attack you, right? It makes sense. You talk to bad people, bad things are going to happen. So don't go to those sites. Very easy. Never reply to spam email. How do you know it's spam? Well, maybe it's too good to be true. If you have an email from your long-lost Nigerian dictator, actually, it does happen. Many people would like to scam. But you can always delete the email. If somebody wants to get hold of you, they're not just going to stop because you don't like one email. Maybe they will. Try not to open messages that look like they might be dodgy. And if they are, you can use a system like Gmail. Gmail is free and it has a higher level of security in many systems. Although Gmail has been and will in the future be hacked. No doubt about it, it's just too popular. Still, it's secure and they respond quickly. Also, if somebody sends you an email and it looks official and it says click here, it has a link inside the email. Generally, what I would do is not click on the link. I would look at the link and see where it links. And then I would type it painstakingly into my browser window. Most viruses that you get on your computer will enter the computer when you click on something in an email. It's the #1 way of getting a virus onto your computer. Just be careful with that.